Hello. Yeah, I want to make another video. Well, I had something that really. You remember when Alex Jones uh, had Yee on his platform, and Yee was saying something about Hitler, and it was controversial. And he had this other guy named Nick Fuentes on, and he was covered up in his headgear. I don't know if anybody saw that. I was trying to find. I didn't think I recorded the video, but he was saying that yeah, Hitler was all right, and the Nazis were okay. Kanye, which is now known formerly as Ye, said this. So I saw something was pretty interesting, and you know that there were Jewish people, different European Jews were massacred during the Holocaust, pretty much. And there was some people that were disabled. There was some other people, probably some gypsies, and that or in Poland, I think it was some people from Poland, and I forgot it was certain sectors of people that were in that concentration camp, the disabled. Um, but one thing I didn't know this, that there were black people over there, and here's a story I found what he did to black people. And during World War II.
Germany. Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany, and the Nazi regime quickly begins to restrict the civil and human rights of the Jews and other individuals deemed to be enemies of the state, and opens the first concentration camp, Dachau, situated near Munich. The regime targets not only the Jews and political prisoners, but also Afro-Germans, who are discriminated against and persecuted despite their relatively small presence in Germany. Even though the Nazis do not have an organized program to eliminate them, an unknown number of black people in Germany and German-occupied territories would be sterilized, incarcerated, or murdered. On the 11th of November, 1918, the First World War ended when the German leaders signed the armistice in the Compiègne forest in France. The introduction of new weapons like the machine gun and gas warfare led to enormous losses, and the war claimed the lives of 10 million soldiers. Property and industry losses were catastrophic. As a result, the victorious powers imposed a series of treaties upon the defeated powers. Among the treaties, the 1919 Treaty of Versailles held Germany responsible for starting the war and liable for massive material damages. The treaty imposed harsh penalties on the Germans, including the loss of 13% of its pre-war territories, extensive reparation payments, and the demilitarization of the Rhineland in Western Germany, which following World War I was occupied by the victorious Allies. The use of French colonial troops, some of whom were black, in these occupation forces heightened anti-black racism in Germany. Racist propaganda against black soldiers falsely depicted them as rapists of German women and carriers of venereal and other diseases. The German press derogatorily referred to the children of black soldiers and German women as the Rhineland bastards. The Nazis viewed Afro-Germans, children with one African parent and one German parent, as a threat to the purity of the Germanic race. In his 1925 autobiography, Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler said, "The Jews had brought the Negroes into the Rhineland with a clear aim of ruining the hated white race by the necessarily resulting bastardization." In the 1920s, some African Americans traveled to Weimar, Germany, which was the government of Germany from 1918 to 1933. Where they could freely eat in restaurants, stay in hotels, go to the theatre, and perform at mainstream venues. However, after the Nazis came to power in January 1933, Germany was no longer safe or appealing for African Americans. The Nazi German regime was explicitly racist, which included a wholesale rejection of African American culture, such as jazz and swing music, that were increasingly popular at the time. During the Nazi regime, Afro-Germans were marginalized in German society, isolated socially and economically, and not allowed to attend university. Racial discrimination prohibited them from seeking most jobs. In addition to being persecuted for their race, Afro-Germans were persecuted for other reasons as well. Such was the case of Hilarius Gilgis, an Afro-German dancer and communist activist from Düsseldorf, born in 1909. Gilgis was one of the few black Germans born in the country before the First World War, and in the mid-1920s he joined the German Communist Youth. Because of his radical political stance, he was arrested in 1931 and sentenced to 1 year in prison. After his release in 1932, he continued as an active communist agitator. After the Nazis seized power in January 1933, Gilgis attempted to go into hiding when his visibility due to his skin color made this difficult. In June 1933, he was arrested, and on the following day, his body was found under a bridge. The perpetrators, who killed Gilgis for his politics as well as his race, are believed to have been 6 members of the Gestapo, the German secret state police, and SS. By the end of 1937, the Gestapo had secretly rounded up and forcibly sterilized many Afro-Germans. Some were subjected to medical experiments, others mysteriously disappeared. Children were no exception. The Nazis forcibly sterilized a group of Afro-German children, whom they derogatorily called the Rhineland Bastards. Most of these children were the progeny of French colonial troops from Africa that were stationed in the Rhineland region after World War I. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939, when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. In response to Japan's bombing of Pearl Harbor on the 7th of December 1941, the United States quickly declared war on Japan, and 4 days later, on the 11th of December, Adolf Hitler responded by declaring war on the United States, even though the US had only declared war on Japan. Consequently, many American citizens, including some African Americans, were interned throughout Germany and German-occupied Europe as enemy aliens. Such was the case of Josef Nassi, a black expatriate portrait artist of Jewish descent who held a US passport. In 1942, Nassi was arrested in German-occupied Belgium as an enemy alien. He was then interned and held for 7 months in the Beverloo transit camp. He was later transferred to Germany, where he spent the rest of the war in Laufen internment camp and its subcamp, Tittmoning, both located in Upper Bavaria. By early 1945, 850 men holding American and British passports, including a dozen black men, were interned at Laufen and Tittmoning. Conditions in these camps were much better than in concentration camps. Throughout his 3-year imprisonment, Nassi created a unique visual diary of more than 200 paintings and drawings. The camp commandant actually encouraged Nassi to paint and give art lessons to other internees, and many of Nassi's works depicted daily life in the internment camps. The life that Nassi depicted was obviously restricted, and his work stressed features such as barbed wire, watchtowers, walls, gates, and prison bars. Rules of the Geneva Conventions, which protect people such as prisoners of war, the wounded, and civilians who are not or are no longer taking part in hostilities, did govern conditions in civilian internment camps, including Laufen and Tittmoning, where Nassi was confined from 1942 to 1945. Nassi and other internees in these camps were not detailed for forced labor, and they usually had enough food, thanks to Red Cross packages that supplemented German rations of bread and soup. The US Third Army liberated Laufen on the 5th of May, 1945. Nassi and nearly all the internees at Laufen and Tittmoning, including 50 Jews, survived the war. Many of the Jews had obtained false papers showing British, US, or South American citizenship. Another of Tittmoning's prisoners was an African-American horn and piano player, Freddie Johnson. By the mid-1930s, Nazi authorities had banned all foreign, non-Aryan music in Germany, including jazz, which Nazi ideology deemed to be immoral. However, the campaign to rid the country of jazz did not stop American artists such as Johnson from going abroad to share their art. In December 1941, he was arrested in German-occupied Amsterdam and interned at the Tittmoning prisoner of war camp. Once in a while, despite the oppression of prisoners in the camps across German-occupied Europe, the sound of jazz could be heard. For many, musical talents helped them survive another day. In February 1944, Johnson was released from the camp in a prisoner exchange. However, rules of the Geneva Conventions did not apply at the nearby Dachau concentration camp and other camps across German-occupied Europe. There, prisoners were brutally exploited for forced labor, and many died from exhaustion, starvation, and other harsh conditions. Those black people who fought in World War II against Nazi Germany as members of the Allied militaries and were caught and held as prisoners of war fared far worse than those in civilian internment camps. Black prisoners of war faced imprisonment and mistreatment at the hands of the German military, who did not uphold the regulations imposed by the Geneva Conventions. Black soldiers of the American, French, and British armies were worked to death on construction projects or died as a result of mistreatment in concentration or prisoner of war camps. Others were never incarcerated, but were instead immediately killed by the SS or Gestapo. Despite segregation in the military at the time, more than 1 million African Americans served in the US Armed Forces during World War II. Such was the case of Benjamin O. Davis Jr. During World War II, Davis was commander of the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group, which escorted bombers on air combat missions over Europe.
Tuskegee Airmen.
Davis flew 60 missions in Mustang fighters and was one of the first African-American pilots to see combat. Davis survived the war and became the first African-American brigadier general in the US Air Force. Some African-American members of the US Armed Forces were liberators and witnesses to Nazi atrocities. In the camps, they found piles of unburied corpses and barracks filled with dead and dying prisoners. After months and years of maltreatment, starvation, and forced labor, the small percentage of prisoners who survived often required immediate assistance. One such witness of the Nazi atrocities was Leon Bass, an African-American soldier who in April 1945 was among the American troops who liberated the Buchenwald concentration camp. Leon Bass later said, "The day that I walked through the concentration camp gates of Buchenwald and I saw what I saw, I can never say that I am callous about human life. It made me know that human life is sacred, because when I walked through those gates in the spring of April 1945, I was totally unprepared for what I saw, and I saw what I can refer to now as the walking dead. I saw human beings there that had been beaten and starved and tortured, and so mistreated that they were nothing but human skeletons. They were skin and bone, and they had those skeletal faces with the deep-set eyes, and their heads had been clean-shaved, and they were standing there holding on to one another, and they were so thin. And I just said to myself, my God, what is this? This is some kind of insanity. Who are these people? What did they do that was so wrong? And that's when I found out that they were Jews, gypsies, some were Jehovah's Witnesses, they were trade unionists, they were communists, they were homosexuals. There were so many different groups placed in that camp by the Nazis. And what did the Nazis use as a yardstick as to who would be chosen to go there? They said those people were not good enough. Those people were inferior. They could be segregated. So you see what I mean? Segregation, racism, can lead to the ultimate, to what I saw at Buchenwald. With the exception of its white officers, the 183rd Engineer Combat Battalion, of which Leon Bass was a member, was made up entirely of black soldiers. After battling for freedoms and defending democracy worldwide, African-American soldiers returned home in 1945, only to find themselves faced with the existing prejudice and Jim Crow laws, which legalized racial segregation. Racial segregation in the United States Armed Forces officially ended only in 1948. Thanks for...
So my question is to Yi, did he study that it was not just people that was of Jewish descent? The man said it himself. And the Nazis are good people. You hear what? Did Kanye Yi find that out before he made that ignorant, blatant statement on Alex Jones podcast? That's why, when you go say something blatant and ignorant, you need to really think about that. About what you say, that the Nazis was good people. And the Nazis was about wiping out the whole human race, including black people. And you hear what the man said. He said this and that was really kicked off and got people angry. He got people really angry. That's what they did. it was some people they think it's a joke. And do you know that this, and that's why I made in the video about the not that you in Ukraine you have Nazis supporting that come off the same ideology as them, that want to wipe out. And even though there's this innocent people who don't believe in Nazis, who are not part of Nazis, they're dying in the Ukraine. But you got a certain people that support Nazis, that believe the same thing as Hitler, what he was doing to people. And did you know that the Red Cross told, if you're African American and you part of a group, don't be surprised that you might get discriminated in Ukraine, and you wanted the Red Cross, they had it on the website. So so there's some people that in other countries that follow Hitler's mentality. And I just heard something recently that you think that was disgusting? I just heard off this one channel what this woman said. Check this out. This is from.
Have you heard of life insurance with
this
living
woman
benefits?
The
This type
channel.
of life insurance policy pays out tax-free cash.
Redirecting channel. Watch what this woman says. In 2022, you're gonna hear this.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. I want you all to
This was
listen
the
to
woman.
something first before I get started, and then I will be right back. You're not going to be surprised at all, but take a listen at this so you can understand what I'm about to tell you.
Son, I agree with you wholeheartedly. What I say is ban the black man. They steal, they kill, worse than any pit bull could, and they get away with it. Ban those that are making the laws. Ban Ekreleni. Ban the black man. Get all the black women and cut out their uteruses and their ovaries, that they cannot procreate, because they will all turn out the same, because they are all the same. I'm very passionate about this. Ban them. Kill them. Shoot them. Get rid of them, because they are the problem, not pit bulls, not animals. Animals are beautiful, and they deserve a warm bed, food, love, and attention, and everything else. God created those animals. Who created the black man? Do you think God? I don't think so.
Just like the Bible says, and ye shall be hated of all nations. I don't even have to repeat what this woman said, although I may repeat some of it just so you all can understand the severity of all of this. This woman is calling for black people to be deleted. She says take them all out. They're all the same. This is what she said. She says they're worse than anybody else on the planet. She's calling for
Sounds
black
familiar?
women to have their uteruses
Sounds familiar?
cut so that they cannot procreate, is what she said. Take it all out. Delete these people. This is what this woman is calling for. This is just what I keep telling y'all. The Bible says that they were going to have a perpetual, continuous, non-stop hatred for his people. What was coming out of this woman's mouth is utterly detestable. But that is how many of them feel. It's a trip that they don't even want us talking about it. They don't want us, when we see stuff like this, they want us to just ignore it and pretend like it doesn't happen. This is some right now stuff. This isn't 50 years ago, 100 years ago, or 400 years ago. This is right now stuff. But that that is how she feels, and that's how many of them feel. And they know it to be the truth. And if you ask them, do you feel this way? Why do you feel this way? They can't even come up with a valid reason why they personally feel this way. Some of them have never had personal encounters that you would say were negative towards them. They look at the overall picture and they say that we are all the same. But they don't want us to paint all of them with the same paintbrush. She don't want to be compared to Hitler. She doesn't want to be compared to King Leopold. She don't want to be compared to Jeffrey Dahmer and all of these people. She wants to be treated as an individual, but to her, all of us are the same. So she puts black criminals in the same category as, let's say, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. Huh? Harriet Tubman. Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King. They go in the same category as the people that she was describing as criminals. I talk about these things because it's very necessary. I had a viewer ask, why do I even cover these kinds of stories? This is because not all of my viewers know and understand what biblical prophecy said about the tribe of Judah and the tribes of Israel. Everybody don't understand those prophecies, so every chance I get, I want to point it out to you that the scripture says that these other nations were going to do certain things to us and find themselves not guilty, that they were going to have this perpetual disdain for us that was going to burn in them forever and ever. They got what you call the I can't help it. It's like I can't stand these people, is how they feel. It burns in them. You got to be one cold, miserable, godless person to say that every black woman needs to have her uterus cut out of her, ripped out of her, so that we cannot procreate. She didn't even say give them a drug so they can't have it anymore. She said cut it out. She wants an act of,
genocide.
Violence.
Genocide.
That's what she wants.
Genocide.
She wants black women to feel the pain of not being able to procreate. And she would feel.
And she wasn't the only one.
To call her a terrible woman.
And guess what? Guess who else said that? The founder of Planned Parenthood.
Now, some of them are proud of being, the way they are. But some of them would deny it up and down. If you were to say, do you realize that you are, you know what? Anyway, again, I'm not surprised at all at what we have just heard. I'm going to play it again for you. And then I'm going to be done with this. But this, again, is proof of what the Bible has said to us. This is what the Bible prophesied would happen and how these people would feel. I'll take a listen again before I close this video out.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly. What I say is ban the black man. They steal, they kill, worse than any pit bull could, and they get away with it. Ban those that are making the laws. Ban Ekreleni. Ban the black man. Get all the black women and cut out their uteruses and their ovaries that they cannot procreate, because they will all turn out the same, because they are all the same. I'm very passionate about this. Ban them. Kill them. Shoot them. Get rid of them, because they are the problem, not pit bulls, not animals. Animals are beautiful, and they deserve warm bed, food, love, and attention, and everything else. God created those animals. Who created the black man? Do you think God? I don't think so.
So this
No.
Many of the things that she has accused so-called black people of is where they lead.
Right.
When you talk about somebody being the most something, take a worldwide look before you start saying things. Because there are things that her people have done all over this planet for centuries, deleting whole groups and whole tribes of people from the planet. It amazes me when I hear these people talk about that we are the worst of the worst. Okay? That always amazes me. I say to myself, this person is sick. These people definitely have a disease called Wedico, because they are the ones who have terrorized the whole planet. But they want to talk about what somebody else is doing to deflect from what they are doing. That's why I say we are their mirror. We are their mirror. The things that they have done and continue to do all over this planet to other groups of people is a mirror reflection for them to look back at. If they can look at those things, they can see how terrible it all is. And yet they are confused as to why people don't trust it. I'm done with this video, y'all. Leave your comments below.
And that's just not South Africa. There's people in different parts of the world, including America, that feel this way. I'm not surprised. And even though, like she said, some people, but you gotta understand the reality of it. That's how much, and it's true how much we are hated. Just because the pigment in the skin and a different texture of hair. Crazy, ain't it? So basically, she believed in her own mind, God, made that animal, but he didn't make black people. I mean, God, dog. I mean, you can't get no ignorant than that. I mean, it's really, you can't. It's amazing ignorance in that.
I wanted this space.
And then she said about cut the black woman and let her die in suffering pain. Well, remember when I said that? Guess who else said that in Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger said the same thing. Margaret Sanger said that black people are like weeds that need to be cut out. So you have black people going to abortion clinics behind a eugenist that was motivated, and even Hitler was even motivated by her. But yet you have the Democratic Party, Obama, who said she was a wonderful woman. But he's half black, right? He wasn't part of us, right? Crazy, ain't it? Crazy, just crazy. Sometimes you got to show the reality. Where does this come from in history? Because if you don't, people be like, oh no, you guys are just blowing up. No, you have to hear for yourself. Oh, you black people, da-da-da-da. And they hate it so much. Before I go to this one, someone even made a song. They would call us this word.
And so, when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what? China. All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there.
No, I ain't think I'm gonna play that, cause I don't want no one. Someone think, oh, that's. Yeah, I thought about that. Nah. Oh. Before we get to that, someone did cover this.
Tell the truth.
One of the things that makes WordPress so powerful is all of the customization capabilities.
So Kanye think that, oh, that white supremacy, someone like a Nick Fuentes, that's what he represent. And you sitting up there talking to him, and you talking down on a group of people because you mad at some individual that did you wrong in business.
Kenneth Walker, her boyfriend, who was defending her.
Oh, dang. Sorry.
Or they still have time to display their racism. And then even when people are trying to come into Poland, the Polish still have time to display their racism towards blacks while letting everybody else in. The Romanians, the same thing. And it's Europeans. Europeans have always been in they've always had the ideology that it is a genetic survival. It is about the survival of the genetics. The black Europeans already know that they don't make up most of the group of people in this world in terms of their tribe. They do not. So they must maintain power. Let the Africans, let them die over there. There's no consequence to them. We got their money. We got the tuition money. Let them just die. And then we have to ask ourselves too, why do we go to these foreign countries when we should know that these foreign countries don't care about us? They don't want us here. They don't want us in their country. So why do we even run to the foreign countries and think that we're going to get treated fairly and justly when there is no justice? There's just us. I thank everybody that's here. Definitely share the video. Remember, I will be on the House of X Entertainment next Saturday, March 12th, 8 p.m. Told you can't get on trains. They were pushed. A lot of them said they were pushed around, mistreated. Same thing that black folks in America have known for years. Our brothers and sisters in the other parts of the world, you better wake up. Even though you can go to these other countries and go to school and study medicine and science, they don't like you. O'Shea was in Poland and he talked about on his videos and blogs how when he would go out and about, every now and then he would hear that M-bomb being put on him.
What? Poland?
Let's not forget we got Morocco. There were students from Morocco. These are the flags I'm showing you, folks. North Africa. They were also a part of those that were discriminated against. And then we have the Ivory Coast. The Ivory Coast flag.
Tell the truth.
They were some of the members of black folks, African people in the continent that were discriminated against in this situation, trying to get out of the country. Now, I know Black Anonymous in the chat room has said that, and I read what you said, brother, that many of the governments in Africa were telling their people to get out. This is the thing. I wish the African governments would have more pull and more juice than they have.
Tell the truth.
Because you know damn well if this was Americans over there, if this was any other European country, France, Great Britain, or what have you, their governments have the juice to say, wait a minute, Ukraine, wait a minute now, we're up here helping you, we're giving you weapons of mass destruction, we're doing all sorts of things to help you in this. Well, you're not going to treat our people like this. Let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. I, 'cause 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 I, 'cause
Now let me give you a little breakdown. Let's do a lesson plan here. Like I said before, ladies and gentlemen, 20% of the exchange students in the Ukraine are African. That's the truth.
Tell the truth.
Now when it comes to Nigeria, and I want to put this back up here again, the Nigerian flag. When it comes to Nigeria, Nigerians make up about 4,000 Nigerians make up 4,000 of the exchange students out of all different African countries where you have brothers and sisters studying medicine, science, and what have you in their universities. Nigerians make up the largest number of 4,000 students. All in all, the brothers and sisters in the diaspora,
Tell the truth.
they were refused entry, as we've heard and we've seen on video, on buses, trains. They were refused entry at getting access to crossing the border. They were marginalized, underestimated, and treated poorly. And the lesson in this, and I'm going to say it again, there's a lesson to be learned. You see, you may think that because you're in a fancy university in Europe, that they like you. What they showed you is that you talk about tribalism, you have tribalism in the continent of Africa. What you saw was pure, real, adulterated tribalism in Ukraine. They were concerned about Ukrainian women and children, not black folks. And even when black women and black men had children in their arms, let's take a look at this. Right here is a perfect example, ladies and gentlemen. On the one hand, you have a black man from the diaspora. He's holding his child. The Ukrainian man is holding his child. Both trying to get their kids to safe passage across the border. However, you had on video black men just like this. Is with their child in hand in black women from the diaspora, from the continent of Africa, who were trying to get on board these trains. Let's just tell the truth and shame the devil. You see them right here. You see them right there trying to get on board the train, but the trains are not letting them get on board while they're sitting out there in the snow. And you had situations where you had black women, African women and black African men trying to get on board trains that were being pushed back and shoved, and you have them even being shoved with their kids in their hands just like this. Tell the truth.
Tell the
Shame
truth.
the devil. See, black people in America, we have long understood this lesson. And you see the brothers right here, they're left for debt. They're being mistreated. You have them walking again in the cold snow, trying to get out of the climate. They came over there as students. And I would imagine that they spent good money for their education in the Ukraine has benefited from the Africans, the brothers and sisters from the continent who have spent money going to school there. We know that they have been spending good money on these universities. You see the mistreatment of black men. We see see a lot of bullshit on YouTube today where everybody's got something to say about black men. But these black men in the diaspora are going to school. They're not musty and dusty and crusty. They might look on there from appearance to look like they're musty, dusty, and crusty. I got that from O'Shea.
Tell the truth.
But these brothers are in the cold climate, trying to get out of a war situation, a war zone. White supremacy is global. Listen to this by my main man. I respect him. The main man himself, Nilly Fuller Jr. Listen.
Thing having to do with black people, the white supremacists are involved. I mean, otherwise there would be no such thing as white supremacy. You know, if black people were just walking around, I mean, with nothing affecting them, you know, in economics, in education, in entertainment, and in the 9 areas of activity, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war. If black people weren't affected by the system of white supremacy, there would be no point in talking about white supremacy. So the hypothesis is, the conclusion has to be based on logic and evidence. Everything that black people do, every move that they make anywhere on this planet called Earth, is dominated by the system of white supremacy. That's what it's designed to do. Dominate all of the affairs of people classified as non-white.
You hear what Brother Nilly Fuller Jr. was saying. White supremacy is about impacting people who are non-white, impacting them and treating them as if they are not human. Now, I've done plenty of videos where I have talked about how in Atlanta, Georgia, that they see dogs as more important than they do black people, particularly black men, in this particular situation. I talked about that, how they're building a dog shelter in Atlanta for the cost of $38 million, only $3.5 million for a shelter for those that are homeless. And you have a lot of black men that are homeless in Atlanta, Georgia, across the country, Los Angeles, San Francisco, all over the goddamn place. I want to thank Real Aaron Collins for super chatting me. He says, salute, brother Infoman, even in a foreign European country, our African continental brothers and sisters are experiencing the true brunt of global white supremacy. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
These things are true. These things are facts. The question I want to say is, the governments which these fine folks represent, it shows you that there is no respect for black people globally around the world, let alone just America, but around the world. And I want to say this to my African brothers and sisters, and I mean no disrespect, but I got to tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
You see, tribalism can be good or bad, because tribalism gives you a sense of cultural identity and who you identify with. It can help you be on code with those who have the same set of principles and values as you. But then on the other hand, tribalism can be hurtful when it causes you to not be unified. Imagine if the continent of Africa was unified under one flag instead of many flags that I've shown you today. Just imagine if you didn't have a Nigerian flag, you didn't have a Ghanaian flag, a Ghana flag, or a flag of the Congo, or a South African flag, or a Ivory Coast flag, or a Moroccan flag, or a Kenyan flag. What if you just had one flag that represented uniting a people under one goal of working on code with one another, because certainly the Europeans didn't give a damn about where they came from in the continent of Africa, as they have seen that it's just one big Negro. It's just one pest in their eyes that we have to get rid of these people, exterminate them away from us. We'll let them come to our country and go to our schools so that we can get some of their tuition money and their scholarship money, their grant money, so on and so forth, have them pay for our books. But when it comes down to a war zone situation where everybody's trying to get out, damn the African, because the Africans themselves said that they said no blacks. There was a pecking order in this situation. Damn it, I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat room, but this is too damn serious. I need to stay on point with the lesson plan. I say peace to everybody in the chat room. Clap to all of you. We got Lady Leg 75, Hard Talk Radio.
Stop it right here. I'll show you something else. This came from the Field Advice show. This came from a man himself. He said this out of himself. I didn't find the other one, so let me. But people say that, oh, it's just the past. It's just the past. Watch this from South Africa. Watch what this man says.
How would you like to see 5 real-life examples of people making over $1 million a year online with nothing but one simple product and sell?
So this is a European man that lives in South Africa, and he wants to, explain to people how white folks are victims of racism as well. Let's go ahead and roll that.
I'm so sick of people saying that white people cannot be victims of racism. So I made this video to explain exactly why white people can be victims of racism. Now, if you listen very carefully, you can probably hear that I'm actually from South Africa. So we have a long history in South Africa of racism. But people sometimes think that white people in South Africa was not victims of racism. But let me explain exactly how we were, in fact, victims of racism. You see, when you think that your value as a human being comes from your skin color, you stop trying to be a good person in other ways. So during apartheid, we were told as white people that we were better than black people. And some people, they start to think that that means that you are automatically better, it doesn't matter what you do. So we had white people in South Africa who were raping people. We had policemen who were taking people off the street and torturing them and doing the worst things you can imagine. And they walk around thinking, well, I'm white, I must be okay, I must be good because my skin makes me good. You see, if you are a racist, you are a victim of racism because you stop growing as a person.
Sounds familiar, don't it? In some American cities, don't it? Sorry.
You stop seeing other people as fully human. And you look at the black man and you think, I'm better than him because of my skin. But what actually happens is the black man that you abuse and oppress, he grows and he learns and he becomes a better person because he has you as an example of what a terrible person is. And then we get someone like Nelson Mandela, and he comes out of prison after 27 years and he's better than any white man in the country because he's learning the whole time. And the white racist sits there and thinks, I don't have to learn because I'm white, I'm automatically good. And you become the biggest victim of racism. You become a fucking idiot. So all my white brothers and sisters, man, we've got to get rid of this racism. We are not growing as people. We are not becoming the people we should be because we think that our value comes from our skin color and not from the way that we treat other people. Do not be a victim of racism. Do not be a racist.
Well, that is a interesting take, and I do agree that in some way I would say a victim of racism, because racism is a system built on power, and which says that the white supremacist has the power and they victimize others. I would not say that European people have been victimized; they have been the victimizer. Now, what I will say is that they have been very deceived. I will use the word delusional. I will use the word, being a colonizer and things like that, right?
The real world says this: nobody's supreme to anybody. So that's what delusion comes in, right? A skin color doesn't make nobody better than anybody. That's where also the delusion comes in. And the miseducation that has happened. But the fact is that you create a whole system and devalue black people in South Africa, and that definitely during the time of apartheid, and all the horror that has been done to black folk. Then now today in South Africa, you see Europeans crying, talking about the ANC government and Julius Malema and the EFF, and just crying and crying and crying. And what I will say is this: black folks had to endure y'all for a long time in South Africa. And now you complaining about what the ANC is doing and Julius Malema is doing and all the other ones. Well, if you don't like what they're doing, you can go to the airport, right? O.R. Tambo Airport in Johannesburg, and you can get on a plane and go back to your homeland of the Netherlands if you do not like how black people are running the country. Because some of them have said that they don't like the way black people run the country. It was better during apartheid. Well, you know what? Apartheid is going to have, it's done. It's done. I know you kind of like some of the people here in America that would love to live back in the time of slavery. I know. You just, oh my God, you just wish it comes back. I get it, because you're lazy. I know. You didn't want to do nothing for yourself. But if you really was talking about doing something to fix the situation in South Africa, then what you would do is return that land back to the black people. That's what you would do. Because the Europeans own a lot of the land still in South Africa, even though you have a black majority. They have a lot of money still, even though you have a black majority. Even Indians have money there. Not all, but some of them have money. Now, not to say they don't have black folks with money in South Africa. There's a lot. Trust me, go to Johannesburg. You see how black people moving around? It's awesome to see that. To me, that's what I really liked about Johannesburg. I saw a lot of upward mobility that I thought that was awesome. And I will be going back to Johannesburg here in a few months. Can't wait to get back to Johannesburg. But the situation with the racism, and then that's the thing. Unfortunately, some of y'all, the Europeans in South Africa, some of y'all are still racist, because we've covered that too here. You had a woman recently that was sitting up here was wanting a genocide against black people in South Africa. Why? My thing is, if you don't like black people, why are you there? I don't understand that. It's the same thing I say even in America. America is a big enough country where you can go to certain states where it's mostly European. There's no black people there. Yes. No African people there whatsoever. None. But yet you still want to be around black folk and complain when you can go back to your homeland of the Netherlands. You can go back and you can get into the Netherlands and work with your people. I don't take issue with that. You can land in Amsterdam tomorrow if you don't like black folk. Now I know you like South Africa because it's nothing like that African continent. There's nothing like that good food over there. There's nothing like the way the sun hits you on the African continent. I know you listen. Y'all haven't even told me. Some of y'all that have visited while I was in South Africa told me how it is, how much y'all love it there. How it's nothing like being in the African continent. Y'all like it down there more than y'all like it in Europe. Oh, I know. That's why everybody's flooding going down there. Asians and Arabs and Europeans and everybody. That's why they going. That's why I tell black folks over here, you need to be over there. And you need to be putting your foot in the ground and building something there before you get there and everybody else has built something. Like I say, y'all do y'all. Because like I said, it's only so far you can go in America. Look at, even if you're a quote unquote billionaire in America, you have no power. You have nothing. I'd rather take if I had $1 billion or millions of dollars, I'd rather take it to the African continent and build something there, because at least I know over there I have more power to do things there because I'm in the majority. It's just that simple. But I appreciate what the guy is saying and I understand what he's saying. But what I would ask him to do is to go and talk to his brethren in South Africa, the Boers and all of them, and go be anti-racist and just teach them. Say, hey, if you don't like black people, then you need to leave. And say, because black people are the majority, Black people are running the government. It's not going to change whether you like it or not. Stop trying to sabotage things. Stop trying to come up with ways where you can attack the South African government. Just stop. You don't need to be doing all that. You're not getting that back. That day is over. That's what he can do. I'll tell any white person that. You want to be, a great asset to the black community, you need to go to your community and teach them and get them off of that wicked path of anti-black racism. That's what you can do to assist. If you say, what can I do to change, and get rid of anti-black racism, go to your community, and that's where the work is at. The work isn't over here, the work is over there. But y'all let me know.
I can't say he's better than myself. That is so true. And that's so true. And this goes to show you the reality of it. But I had to show you that not all people agree with that too. But did you see how you treated all that just because the complexion of that God put on a human body, on an individual, against another human body, another person, because their complexion is darker and their hair is made different. Just imagine that. Imagine somebody didn't do. You just got this, and like she said, they got an inner hatred. Somebody got inner hatred. They just roll off their neck, and this happened. And I didn't just point out in South Africa, but it's also was in Europe, in Ukraine, in America. You have to see. I'm not just specifically, but what they got in common is because the totem pole is the same. When some white people look at other white people, it's the same. But they may not have a little disagreement. But if you got some people among the collective and they got the same allies and enemies, when it comes to the skin, you see the same results. You see the same mindset. You had the blacks are over here. They probably saying it too. Like I said, it's the same way it go over in America. When I made that statement, you have to be around people that's of mixed race and interracial friendship and relationship. You got a whole, in America, you got a whole 50 some states, over probably 9,000 counties. Half of the 9,000 counties ain't no other people there. Trust me. From the east from the northeast all the way down to the southwest, you still got towns like in places in Georgia it's still mostly predominantly white. You got places in Texas that's white, and if you black or any other race, you have a bad day. You got some places in the far west. So if you're white and if you got them kind of opinions and you say I don't want to be around no race of people, them the places to go. I made a video about this. It's all white towns, and you won't be in. And those are people who got that mindset. Because some people I'm not prejudiced until you sit around, and some individual family members start coming out of the bag with their stuff. And it's the truth. It's the truth. So just like in Ukraine, it's like, okay, but see, here was a dumb thing about Ukraine. If some of the people were so ignorant and prejudiced, they could have helped out the doctors over there, the Moroccans and all them Africans, but just because they feel like they were inadequate, able to take care of them, they had to suffer. Now the doctors and nurses in the Ukraine have to take on the double load of all the soldiers. So that smart one, right? The people getting bombed out, dying. That's how it is. That even their own ignorance. So the people have left the country, and some, unfortunately, some of them have to die. And you know that's got to be a strain on doctors and nurses because they just can't get to everybody. But you see what happened, right? So when you go over there and give your heart like that, like different people come from the continent, that's how you treat it. He's right. The information man's right. It's not even to thank you or thank you. Then these same people that Ukrainian government want Africa to help bring them over. They want them to help. Can you help us out? Whatever. Why? Why when you kind of dog them out? But they ain't tell you about that part. They ain't take about and you don't, and they won't even put that on the Western media. There were people I saw people walking. Some girls from Kenya in different places had to walk in the snow. And they're carrying their babies, women and children. They didn't give a damn. They let the dogs on the trains. But it's equality, right? I tell you, it's different levels to racism here and around the world. And the only way it's going to change when Jesus Christ comes back. That's the only way it's going to change. Because white supremacy is dominating. Dominating. In different ways. How you treat them. Imagine, just because of skin. A human being just because of skin. Who does that? You hear what the woman said? Margaret Sanger said the same thing. And then your Democratic Party is supporting the legacy of Margaret Sanger. Your Ruth Ginsburg and different individuals. And that's what black feminist women. That's what they sisterhood with that. Yes, that's what the premise. They use blacks are one of the people to slow down the population. It's in their own paperwork. And then to have a woman in South Africa said that. And guess what? It actually is happening right now. They die in the uterus. The statistic of black women. I might have to probably make a statistics that what she's saying is happening. And this is pushed by the Democrat Party. And black people are pushing it. So you pushing a white supremacist, your Democratic Party, your Ralph Warnick and all them other people is doing just what she said. And black women are dying in the babies. Some out of abortion, just like other women, but they claim it's at a higher rate. You tell me. But black people still vote Democrat. But based on the model of Margaret Sanger to alleviate people, and Hitler did it to the different groups of people that felt like they was inadequate because they thought they was human weeds. And some of us don't even take the time to research and even study this stuff. Oh, that's not what it means. It's women's right. No, it wasn't meant for women's right. It was meant for annihilation. Because guess what? If white women don't have children, guess what they do? They get them fertile. They got fertility clinics. This is how the way it goes because they do the population dropping. Other population you can drop, kill them off. Fact. When you go to the suburb, it's fertility clinics. So how to get pregnant? You got your suburbs you got your inner cities that got the abortion clinics. Put two and two together right next to where it was 70% black, with 20% white, and others, and say, go ahead, you can go ahead and abort your kid. Why not 95 and 10% in your suburbs can someone can insert to have babies? Yeah. It's about genetic survival. And it's in politics. Yeah. That's what this is about. What she said, she spoke it in South Africa. That's how some people here feel when it comes to black people. They don't say it, they display it. And if they do, they probably say it in secret among themselves. So I hope you take a lesson from his life. And yeah, the hatred is deep. It's deeper than what you imagine. So I hope you like this video. Share it with people. And hope Kanye, when he said good piece of art, as far as Nazi, brother, you need to do your research before you call somebody a man who genocide people off the planet. Starting with people because of their faith. Disgusting. Y'all take it easy. Till next time. Be blessed.